Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Calvin Camp podcast where we talk about movies, television, and more. I'm Calvin, and today, joining me and Anthony, we have two special guests, Nick, my brother,
Hello.
again, and my uncle, Larry.
Hello.
We all got the chance to go together to the movies to watch a fantastic film. Some people are saying it is the greatest film of the year. It is Godzilla -1. So we have a little quick review for you today on the movie. We all really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's really fucking good.
It's
Yeah.
really,
It was a great film. I'd say it's probably one of the best of the year besides Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer was really good, but this film just came out of left field of how good it was.
I know. You started only really hearing like marketing for this film like just a few weeks before it released, and like all of a sudden it's just like talk, like the biggest talk, word of mouth spread.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not a whole lot of like crazy marketing here, but like for a Japanese film, like it has done great in the Americas.
Yeah, no, it's crazy because like it really just like I saw a couple commercials and ads for it and like knew this new Godzilla movie was happening, and because I'm a fan, I pay attention, but like for even those who didn't know, like I had friends I was telling about like, hey, you want to go see this new movie, and they were like, oh, the one with Kong, like the one where he's got like the power gauntlet, and I'm like, no, it's this one, and they're like, oh, I didn't even hear about it, but. No, especially on TikTok and like Instagram, I saw like so many people just like coming and like supporting this movie and saying it's like one of the best movies ever. Like even people not on the nerdy side of things. It was really crazy seeing like all the fans come together.
It's really cool to see. Like there's a lot of random people attending. My Erica's nephew, Daniel, him and his mom went to go see it. They called Erica up, and then we're like, I'm taking Daniel to see the new Godzilla movie, and I'm like, you know it's like a Japanese movie, right? Like it's in subtitles. She's like, what?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are just flocking just mainly because of the title Godzilla.
Yeah.
So
Not to mention, since it's a Japanese movie, I had to pay attention the whole time reading the subtitles. Like it kept me engaged in the movie.
no, it's good. It's it's good stuff. Like we haven't seen a good Godzilla movie like this in a long time. I feel like
I feel like 2014, even though that's the like American version, was like the last time I went with Larry actually.
Did you guys go together?
Yeah, we both went together and we were like, dude, this is so crazy. He was sitting there and like when the foot comes down in Hawaii and we were both like, no, it's literally one of like probably the last time I was like really enthralled in a Godzilla movie. And obviously growing up, I used to watch him with him and with like Uncle Bill and stuff like that.
I remember watching all the old ones and stuff.
And so seeing like the old ones and then only really the 2001 one with Matthew Broderick.
1999.
Oh, is it 1999? I was totally
Matthew Broderick.
Zilla. I like that one a lot.
No, I love that
But
one.
no, I feel like this is the first kind of its kind. It's a whole new age take, but on the original story, and you're getting that mesh of both the classic Godzilla look with the classic Godzilla tail, but then also a whole new like experience to it, and these characters that feel super deep and like convoluted, and they're all really complex, going through their own things that add so much more to the fact that like Godzilla in this movie is like this terrifying force, and there's just so much that they have to offer with like the metaphor that it brings.
Yeah, it reintroduces the dramatic impact that it had on like the bombs on Hiroshima.
Yeah.
Like Godzilla is the walking metaphor for that event.
Exactly.
And it's interesting to see his appearance shortly after the war, just reintroducing like how traumatic that event totally is. Like in a time of complete ruin, even more chaos like sprouts.
Literally.
So
Crazy.
Godzilla it's crazy. Definitely worth going to watch in the theater.
100%.
Yeah, it was great. I thought the cinematography in the beginning, like you had those POV shots of like the plane when he lands on the island, and you had the whole look of it. Even Godzilla, when he was presented, like you had this whole old 40s cinematic look to the film. So I thought that was really cool. That kind of like sucked me into that experience because they're trying to, portray a time period, and depict it the way they need to. And I thought it was just really well done, like the whole time. And I just love that this film alone it's about Godzilla, but it's really about these two characters, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the Japanese, the Japanese people and, how they come together at the end to fight Godzilla.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really, really a great like culmination of storytelling. And what I really, really love about this movie is that going into watching a Godzilla movie, we really only ever want to see Godzilla and the monsters. That's a common like thing that everybody wants.
Of course.
We're like, oh, there's too many human characters. Oh, we don't want to see that. Like, we don't. No, this movie actually like makes you fall in love with all of these characters and makes you feel invested in their story. And it's really traumatic. It's really, really wholesome parts. Really wholesome parts, but like also just really like a lot of dread.
Exactly. And it's super cool because it does it in a way that balances both the epic and awesome like nature of Godzilla and like seeing this monster come to life, but then also not losing itself in that like a lot of the other movies do.
Exactly.
We kind of see that happen, especially in the American versions. Like not necessarily the first one or King of Monster, but like everything after that has kind of been losing itself in its own ideas.
Yeah, it's a little
messy,
little franchisey.
Exactly.
Like,
it feels like it's wanting to be the Avengers of of Godzilla movies.
Have you guys seen the trailer for the new one, Godzilla?
Yes, I've seen it.
Godzilla X Kong. It is like, now don't get me wrong, it looks cool.
I do want to see a monkey,
but at the
fight.
same time, I'm just like, what kind of like CGI?
It looks like it's over the top, the CGI.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah, no, exactly. And then you have this film -1 where it just like grabs all of the greatness of that and then puts it with the intensity of such a like compelling story that, if you've seen Oppenheimer, the story of obviously Oppenheimer's story and then following the events of World War II, Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
why are we always talking about Oppenheimer?
I know.
It's one of the second best films of the year, honestly.
No, I get it. But no, it's that perfect blend into like you get that other side of the war and it feels like it's a perfect continuation. But yeah, no, it's super cool at meshing that. Like especially I know Larry really loved the music and when that music would come on.
It reminded me of my childhood of watching the original Godzilla movies.
Yeah.
I mean, they were not as visually stunning as this one was, but just the atmosphere and the music and just the way he moved, and it was just breathtaking to me.
It's awesome.
So
it just
cool.
reminded me like when we would go on Saturday with the cousins, the three of us would go watch matinees, 3 Godzilla movies. And just all day we'd be there like 6 hours, and it was the best.
So cool.
Good memories.
And I know it's unrelated, but I know this completely unrelated, but I know you love Ghost of Tsushima, and you know how they released that in black and white. Did you see that they're actually releasing -1 in a black and white retake?
That's gonna be awesome.
I was like, I know that this is gonna make it even better because then you really feel like you're watching that original film, and it's gonna hit even closer to home of like those original VHSs, and it's just like so good.
I love that you bring up the score because like the score was
Fucking good.
awesome. Hearing that original, boom, boom,
Boom, boom, boom.
yeah, no, it's so good.
It's-
Dun-dun-dun.
It's like you're so like it just drags you emotionally because you're like, oh, I'm so hyped, and then you're like, wait, why am I hyped? Because this is sad. I'm actually don't want this to happen.
It's weird because it's like this is like the first Godzilla movie I think that I watched for the characters rather than Godzilla.
100%.
Because I was just so invested in like yeah, it was cool to see Godzilla on the screen, but I was more interested in like how are these fucking people gonna make it out of this? Like,
No, and especially like Anthony was talking about earlier, that opening, getting to meet Shikishima. I think that's the actor's name, or the character's name.
Koichi.
Yeah, Koichi. He plays Shikishima in the movie, and he's a suicide pilot. Or is there another name? Whatever.
No, he's a kamikaze.
Yeah,
Kamikaze.
kamikaze. That's what it is. Kamikaze pilot. And he doesn't go through with it, and
Which
that
is
leaves
great dishonor.
Yeah, super like huge dishonor, and you can see it immediately in the soldiers that realize that like this motherfucker is just betraying the army and like Japan, but they kind of see the remorse and like the feeling that he has come over him, and then you get all that buildup, and then all of a sudden you get these like that moment where he sees that little fish or fishes in the water popping up, and he's like, "What the hell is that?" And the next thing you know, it's like you're in Jurassic Park. And it's like Godzilla just comes in out of the dark, and it's like this intense just scene that makes you feel like you're in fear. Like my whole body, I'm getting chills just talking about it.
The reveal for the like younger version of Godzilla is like really drastic.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it's just it happens so fast
100%.
that you're just like, oh my god, like this is scary looking, and this is like. Imagine being in that situation, like not knowing anything about
Godzilla is scary enough. The fact that
up.
you're seeing like a T-Rex that looks even more fierce, and he's just covered, and he just came out of the water, and the locals are like, "Oh hell nah!" Like that just makes it even more scary. And like it just the way he goes through and decimates everybody, it's just like, oh
but
man.
it also like that part is such an important part to the overall arc of the movie because Koichi is just. Like he's ordered to take out Godzilla with the guns from the plane.
Yes.
But he hesitates to do so because he knows in doing so, he will most likely die. And this is a character who really is thriving and wants to live, which is why he didn't go through with being a kamikaze pilot.
Yeah.
And you just see like how much these two decisions that he has made in his life have affected his entire path forward. Like, he caught like him not reacting. Basically, he got to see and witness all of his comrades die.
Yeah.
Like again, pretty much.
Yes.
Like obviously, you probably didn't see it during the war, but like seeing it happen on the island, it's just implying that yes, this is yet another event where he just let everybody like go.
100%.
Yeah, and you have that scene where I think it's Sashashi Takebana. He's like the mechanic guy. He goes, "You failed us. You failed us." And then he's going back to, I think he's going back to Tokyo, and he's carrying all the pictures. Like, you need to bring this back to the families, and you're gonna remember this moment. Like, you're gonna remember this, and he feels ashamed, like going back, and then. We have just when he goes back, then he feels like he meets this woman Naroki, and there's just
Noriko.
Noriko.
I'm
See,
sorry.
we're so bad at
I got it.
here.
I got it.
But he meets her, and they just have a really good connection, and she kind of like brings his honor back. And she has a child, and he feels like he wants to be the father. He wants to just take over this role. So. In the end, you see that he has no fear. He goes, "I'm going to regain my honor. This is for Japan. I'm going to do this. We're going to take out Godzilla," and he does it in such a spectacle way, and it's just awesome, their connection. And he feels like he's responsible for her. He's responsible for the child because in the middle of the movie, she gives her life up for him, and she finds he finds out at the end that he is alive, and you have the end sequence of the scene where he's just so happy that she's alive, and he feels so good. I mean, he cries, and he just says he's sorry, and he just pours all his emotion out at the end of the scene of the movie, and it's so deep and so good that this is just more than just a Godzilla film. This is a film about a love story between these two characters, and there's the bond of a family bond. Even the whole family bond with Japan fighting Godzilla. So it's just like you have that whole experience with that. And just even when they fight him, like all the music when it comes in bomb, 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 it builds up suspense to those moments. And then you have the time where he charges up, so that Godzilla charges up, and then you have that spectacle where there's no audio in the theater.
Quiet.
It's quiet, and you're just here gazing and taking in this
good.
experience of the spectacle that we're watching. And it's just an experience that I have never seen from another Godzilla movie. I mean, I haven't watched most of the new movies.
It's not.
but
There's
all the
nothing
old
like
ones.
that. There's nothing.
I
Not at
almost
all.
think that this one's better than all the old movies, even though they have their place. But this one's just a complete. It's a complete Godzilla movie, like within Japanese culture, and that's what I feel about it.
I agree. No, I fully agree, and it's even more beautiful because it's like it weaves all those tales like perfectly, like this love story, the intensity of dealing with Godzilla as his physical self, and then also dealing with Godzilla as the representation for America and the aftermath of the war. And then on top of that, like you have the bond that is created between him and the fisherman on the boat. And this whole like moving forward, like there's a connection with him and the guy who drives the boat. He's also been in the army, and the other one who hasn't experienced the army. And, yeah, well, the scientist in the army, but then the other one who's too young and he wanted to be in it. And they're like, no, this is like, you don't understand.
Live for our future.
Exactly. And so it's just like so beautiful seeing like the way these characters like come together and like in these moments of just kind of despair, or even just like they weren't even meant to be together. And the way that they weave and like are there for one another throughout the whole film is just like, it's just so phenomenal, especially in the end, like when they are attacking Godzilla with their strategy to trap him, and it almost doesn't work, and they need the tugboats to pull them. The soldier who stayed behind that they told basically not to be in the war, he comes in to rescue them, and it's this moment that brings him into the equation, and he's like, I'm sharing your experience, like. I know you don't want me to be in the war, but I'm fighting for you. And like, it's that beautiful moment where they kind of realize what they're fighting for and like what it means to them.
Dude, that's such a like Avengers type moment too.
So
like,
good.
Where it's just like, it's honestly like I thought of Endgame.
Yes,
I thought of
100%.
all the portals opening and all of the rest of like the characters coming through just to save the day. It's so tingles.
So good. so good. And yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the representation of just like the family aspect of it too, just these tragic lost souls during this time, just meeting out of chance and just developing this relationship. I'm talking about like Noriko and Koichi, and they just like become a family with their little girl who was just left in the destruction. She's not even blood related to either of them, and they just take her in, and it just kind of like is a family that's forced together that just works so perfectly.
And it's every time they're on screen, it's like you get to see that more personal side again. Like obviously we see the story unfold.
They're the light in the darkness.
Literally,
of the story.
The way they push and pull each other, with him being so obsessed with the fact that he doesn't really feel like he should be alive. He constantly is battling with himself that he even thinks he's dead at some points, where he's like, I'm dead. Tell me I'm dead. Tell me I died and this is hell. And she's like, no, you need to live. And so like they're pulling at each other. And then the centerpiece of this little girl who also embodies like you said, this coming together of the sense that, she shouldn't even be alive, this little girl, theoretically.
Yeah.
Everyone else around her died. And so like that also represents his light and hope for raising her and taking care of her. And he doesn't even see it necessarily because he always looks past her.
Yeah.
But it just like those moments where she has those moments where she's talking about, like this, she drew this photo for you guys.
Like,
and
this is dad and mom.
And just seeing her sorrow and loss for when Noriko does die. And then, for when he leaves, it's like, God, you have all these just moments that like, then you see obviously Shikishima when he, is going for the final plan to kill Godzilla. And we think, it's more or less hinted at that he might not die and he's going to pull the trigger to fly out of the plane.
You do get the hint.
Yeah, and you have the thing is Shiro, what's his name? No, Soshisaka Takibana, the engineer. He goes, I'm gonna modify this plane so you live, because you have to live, because you have to take care of daughter
you
or
have
her
a-
daughter.
You have a
You have a
purpose
purpose.
to live.
You have a purpose.
And it's so beautiful, especially because it's coming from someone who wanted him to die for his actions and for the fact that he was supposed to die. So it's like you see this ideology come about, like maybe we don't need to die for these things. Maybe we really should find a way to live for one another. And like, especially in Japan, that seemed like it was a really big deal in World War II, that like, especially they're putting their lives on the line and the country doesn't even care. And that's talked about in the movie. Like they're like, dude, they don't care about us.
Yeah.
They didn't build planes with ejector seats and all this stuff. Like they don't care that we die. They want us to die for the country. And it's like we should live for one another rather than just some bullshit like that. And so it's so beautiful to see Tachibana like tell him basically that I want you to live. And you even see that hope when he does pull the ejector seat and he's falling down. He's like, yes, like he's so happy.
I don't think they lost any casualties in that battle, did they?
Unless the sound boat had casualties, unless that boat making sound, because they're like distress boat deactivated, and all of a sudden Godzilla tossed that boat to the fucking
when me and Nick when we were in the theater, I looked over at him and he was just like
and I kept leaning over to Larry and I was like, "This is the best movie, Larry. This is the best movie." And Larry's like, It's so good.
That's all I said.
Yeah.
Well, it's true.
Yeah, it is. I was gonna say, Larry, what did you think of like, especially Godzilla's like design and like the fire breath? Because I love that. Like,
Oh yeah,
I
his
thought
atomic
his
breath.
design was perfect, and the nuclear breath,
God.
that was amazing. Because the old movies, he blew fire, and that was basically it. But this charged up his back, spikes would go up, and it would be just like a nuclear blast, and there'd be a mushroom cloud, and just
I love it.
the fallout.
the design, man.
I love it because it's like a sneeze.
Yes. It's something he doesn't control. It just happens, which is like, I know that happens in some Godzillas, but like in the American ones, it's like, this is my super move. To this Godzilla, it's like, I can't do this. And it's just like, boom.
Another thing that I really like about the atomic breath is that it has an effect on Godzilla.
Yes.
If you notice that the radiation from the blast of it charging is frying him.
Literally.
So like it's super interesting to see
But
that.
he can also heal himself. from
Yeah,
it, too,
exactly.
He can regenerate, and also it kind of took it out of him. It's just like, I have to recharge. So this
Yeah.
is the time for us to attack Godzilla.
Exactly.
And I mean, remember when they pulled him under? We got to pull him under.
Yeah.
You know, and this is where we have him, and then it just have that end sequence. It's just awesome.
Definitely one of the best models and designs of
100%.
Godzilla like that I've ever
when
seen.
he's chasing him in the boat and it's just his eyes. I was like, how is this movie? It's like Jurassic Park, Jaws. I'm like, this is just like, I'm feeling every sensation, and it's both nostalgia and new. And I'm like, I can't place it. I can't. It was just such a like outlier of doing all the right things in all the right moments without like cutting or wasting time or just like throwing too much to one thing. It knew exactly like where it was going, and it was just like
It just looked like a big dog chasing the stick.
exactly.
The smile on his face
He
when he's
did.
swimming.
He
towards
did
that
look
boat.
like that.
did.
He's like,
That
I'm
was
gonna
my
get it.
favorite part when they did the mine and the mine went in his mouth and they
Blew
he
his
just
face
shot
off?
it,
Yeah.
and his face healed. And then what was it, a cruiser or
Yeah.
just when the cruiser showed up and he just basically destroyed it until the cruiser got the last couple of shots from the turret into his chest.
Yeah.
And he sunk underwater. And then that's the
Yeah.
first time we seen the radioactive breath was when
Yeah,
he went
when it
underwater.
shoots up.
You seen just seen the water turn blue, and then all of a sudden the ship's gone because the blast goes right through the ship into the
Crazy.
It's
sky. That was just
It's so good. It's just like, and like I think it was all of you talking about. Sorry, real
No, I
quick.
was gonna say, I was gonna comment more on the cinematography. Like,
Yeah.
I like the way it was shot, just the cinematic look for the time period, just all the shots that they selected in this, and to convey a story. You even had the whole scene with Godzilla when Norkio's like in the train and she's falling out.
Dude, yeah.
You have that scene, and then you have the scene where you have the reporters on the building. And
That
that
scene's
scene was
so
so
good.
good.
That was awesome.
So
So
you have
good.
that
He's
scene
coming
too.
towards us. He's like, I'm
Yeah,
like, what are
and
you
then
doing?
you have the scene at the beginning when they're on the island, and you see Godzilla's form, just the way that they foreshorten the shots too. Just like even when I
to
said in the
show
beginning,
the
like the
scale.
plane,
Yeah.
the scale of him, even when he's landing the plane, those POV shots are really good. I thought the cinematography was amazing in this game, in this film, because it just for the time period, they just hit it home, and it looks like they didn't really use that much. They used enough CGI that they needed to use, but they used it correctly to make it look like the time period.
The movie was actually it had a $15 million budget, which is insane.
Well, the director said he used less than that. He
Exactly, because
probably like
15
11.
million's only spread to the budget.
The thing that I thought was when I seen the older movies when I was a kid, he moved like methodical, like a guy in a suit. But when you notice the younger Godzilla on the island, it's like he could move really fast. He was fast. He was younger, and I don't know if the radioactive blast had anything to do with it. When the testing of at the atoll, they did the testing, and you could see it generated in him.
Yeah,
maybe that made him slower because he didn't need to be fast. I don't know, but it's like the old movies when he came out of the water and he's walking on the land, and he's just like boom. Boom.
Yeah, no,
because they definitely like. Isn't that a part of like Godzilla's like kind of lore? Is that the bomb affected his like growth?
It made him, made him into what
and
he
I
was.
thought what I thought was really cool is I was reflecting on it when you guys were all talking about this, like the way the atomic bomb affects him. I think, and this could just be me, but it's what I find really interesting is first we have that first look on him on the island, and he's actually like while he's really sick. I mean, it's really fucking cool. He's actually really shrouded. We don't really see him.
Yeah.
So it's like that. It's like setting up the loom. Like you're like, oh shit. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like makes sense in a way. I'm going to compare it. It's like weird, but like the loss that Japan takes from the bombing and the way that Godzilla decimated that island. Like it's that similar, not really knowing what hit them. And like,
I see,
really confused. And then like, what the fuck? And then Godzilla gets hit by the bomb. And in a weird way, the bomb is kind of hurting him, like when you said his fire breath. So it's almost like he also is a creature that is affected by war, which obviously, but like you get to feel that more. You feel a little bit more relation to this random creature, even though he's not as human, it still feels like he's just like really going through it. Like he is a creature, he's predatorial, but he's not really doing it to do it. He's doing it because he just is that way, and it's kind of like he's just suffering the effects that he feels. It's not.
I get that,
yeah.
But I also think that he's just a straight up menace.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
This is the bad Godzilla that we know and love,
and I think that it portrays that into again like that U.S. Japanese like relationship. Well, not really relationship, but the war that like. What it affected Godzilla, then he becomes the clear enemy. And like, then you that makes the metaphor clearer that the ties between Godzilla and the United States is really like the effect that had on Japan. And I don't know, it's really cool to see how that all kind of comes to play both physically and like with the metaphors and themes of the movie. It's just super beautiful.
Now I'd say like, I just want to talk about like Godzilla's form a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like we've seen an interesting evolution throughout the course of Godzilla being a thing since 1954.
Yeah.
This is just like it's such a interesting homage to the original, I feel, because it did at times there were shots where he really did feel like a guy in a suit. And the way that he moved.
Yeah, I can agree with that. There's
think,
certain scenes like on the island, like when you first see him, when you first get his reveal, kind of a little bit there.
And then when he's actually in the city, when he's walking, he's just like he's really slow and very like tight.
I think
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it becomes really present in
cool.
the final act when he's flying around him, when Shikishima's flying around him. Then he also really feels like he's like kind of like what the fuck? He's like assessing what's going on. He's like, this dude's fucking with me. He's like, they're all doing something crazy.
And it's cool because we've had like very interesting evolution of Godzilla over the past like 60, 70 years. We've seen that version of him in the suit, him in like the older stuff with a lot of the ones that I remember are him and his kid who looks like Barney.
Yeah. Yes. His little Godzilla
his
baby.
Little Godzilla Jr. baby that like the spit smoke rings. Do you remember?
Yes, yes.
And then, you know, further on, we got cooler looks. We got the 1999 Matthew Broderick one that we talked about, Godzilla.
Super cool.
Which is like America's first like adaptation of Godzilla.
And it's so I know like people can shit on it, but it's so cool and unique. I loved it. I love the take on like, again, it's very similar to this movie, feeling both like a monster, but also feeling like that human side of things.
I love they keep the reveal of him like so hidden throughout that entire movie. If
so
you
good,
rewatch it.
yeah.
And then like a year later, we got Godzilla 2000, which is a Japanese Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
Reiteration of Godzilla, but it's not like the original. It's a new take on it, and he has a really cool design in that one. And then in more recent times, we've gotten the 2014 Godzilla by Gareth Edwards, and that is the current Godzilla that everybody knows right now. In Godzilla vs. Kong, Godzilla King of Monsters, all that. Which I love that version, honestly, because he's just like big boy.
Yeah, he is. He's just like this.
He's like, I'm big boy.
He feels more like almost a universal threat. Like he's planetary, and he's not just like this movie is obviously more home to Japan.
Yeah.
And it's meant to be. Whereas Godzilla is very much so like big picture. I rule the earth.
But
this
that's
is my
also
planet.
like this is our hero. This is like they've definitely heroized like
100%.
Godzilla in these.
They wake him up. They're like, "We need you, please," and he's like, "Leave me the fuck alone."
We need you, please.
He's like, "I'm trying to sleep, man."
In recent times, we got a film called Godzilla, Shin Godzilla.
Yes.
Which has one of the most terrifying looks that Godzilla's ever had, and that movie it's worth watching. It's not as good as this one, but it's really good.
Yeah.
It's just very interesting because you get a Godzilla that literally evolves through the entire movie. Like he starts off as like an aquatic creature that then struggles like on land as it's destroying everything.
Like you're watching it physically evolve.
He's like slithering and like his gills.
Because you're slowly seeing.
Yeah.
You're slowly seeing Godzilla evolve.
Yeah, he's evolving.
Was this a Japanese version?
Yep, this is a Japanese version. Like it's weird.
It's
because
super
he's
weird.
like adapting,
Super
and you
cool,
see like
though.
his
So crazy.
gills like bleeding blood because like the air, and then he like transforms. and
He's
then
in like constant pain too. That's what
so
they're
crazy.
That's what they like really set it up for, was like what he's saying is like he's constantly evolving. So it's not like it's not a pleasant thing. It's not like a butterfly. No, he's like, I'm fucking getting ripped apart and put together. And like, it just gets so intense. Like
gets weird,
He looks
man.
crazy, and his like eyes are nuts. And
his atomic breath is insane.
Sounds like
Yeah.
it sounds like the movie was probably pretty suspenseful, like at the points of his evolution.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's very destructive.
It feels very much so like the originals, with like almost like a play on miniatures, like the miniature sets. and
It
stuff.
does.
Oh,
But
little
it's-
miniature model sets, kind of like the
and it does it
Godzilla in a
super
suit.
cool. And but what's really weird is, like he said, is his atomic breath is insane, because in this movie it's like a bomb, and it's like that is, to me, it's like the best way to do the breath. But his breath in that movie, it's like the fire breath, but it's almost like
It evolves
refined,
itself.
like a power washing lightsaber. He's like, he just goes, and it makes this like whine. It's like, and it just goes, and it literally, it's like a beam of light, like a fucking kamehameha, just through Japan.
cuts through anything.
It's like
his
insane.
jaw opens up like a snake, like it like unhinges,
And it has like sets of teeth,
cool.
like crazy. It's like,
and then
takes
and
monster
then
to another level.
The beam
Yeah.
transfers from his mouth to all of his spikes and shoots out like hundreds
like
of
a
beams
disco
in the
ball.
air. Like it's insane.
And then he keeps evolving to the point where he gets almost alien humanoid.
Yeah, there's like a humanoid stage that is you see at the very end of the movie. You'll see like this human-esque looking Godzillas.
Yeah.
All
Plural.
of that are his tail. It's weird.
Yeah, it's like shedding and molting. It's so intense.
It's a very interesting movie, but it's definitely worth checking out. But I think that this Godzilla has I think this is my new favorite film.
100%.
Like
It's if like I love obviously biopics, and Oppenheimer's like fucking amazing. This like one of my favorite movies this year, and I still need to see like Killers of the Flower Moon, or I've heard of this new one which is not a biopic, but it's called Poor Things with Emma Stone and what's his name?
Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo, and that's all cool. But like somehow this movie
It
just
snuck in
swept.
there.
It
It
snuck in
there.
and it swept, and I was like, this might be the best movie I've seen. It's like one of the best theater experiences I've had in a long time. One of the just coolest movies I've ever seen ever. And the plot is like literally like a fucking 9 to 10 out of 10.
I heard it's getting
just-
Oscar nominations.
It's
so-
as it fucking should.
Well, as it should. I was about to say it has such a deep, good story, and the actors in this film, like the whole cast, is like they portray their roles well on screen, and they show the emotion, and that's what you need when you're telling a story like this. So
Yeah. I love it.
it deserves nominations.
Yeah, and they lean into that like very I would say almost anime. Like I don't obviously we don't watch a lot of Japanese films besides like Godzilla stuff and here and there, maybe Ultraman or something.
Ultraman.
But like it leans into that overacting that really displays the emotion, but not like, you know, not
in a bad
not in a way
way.
that
Yeah.
doesn't just get rid of the acting. It's like, oh, you make it really clear. So even as someone who, you know, we're watching the subtitles, I feel the emotion to the point where I'm like, I'll watch the movie and I'm like, I'm not even reading at this point. Like I just know I can tell what's happening. And it's just like so good. The actors are just like phenomenal. They literally sell every emotion just perfectly.
God, yes. So now, you know, just moving along in this episode, I just want to get our final reviews. If you were to rate this movie out of 5,
Yeah.
each one, what would you give it, Nick?
I'd give it a 5. I'd give it a 5 out of 5.
Why would you give it a 5?
I know. Like I did see the couple TikToks that could have made it like a little bit even more crazier. Like for example, I saw this TikTok video about a guy who said like it would have been crazier to see if the guy had told them that the eject button wasn't to eject and it was actually to explode.
Yeah.
And then it was a
That's-
bigger reveal.
That's what I was thinking.
Like
was
I think
gonna
that would have been a
happen.
crazier reveal for it, obviously. But to me, it's just everything about that experience. It's like I want to watch the movie again. I want to see it again, and I want to keep seeing it again. And like I think it'll age beautifully. I think it's a story that is gonna age past like as time goes on. You'll want to return to the movie and be like, this just is so good. It adds to the story of both Godzilla and real life, and it just feels super compelling. So I think it's a 5.
Awesome.
For sure.
Anthony?
It's a 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
One of the best movies of the year, hands down. Cinematography, awesome. Like the way they portrayed it, the acting, the story, how you know, it's more Godzilla's a part of it, but it's more about the story of Japan and the characters and the music, the suspenseful. I know this movie's kind of the pacing in it is kind of a slow burn, but at the same time, it's meant to do that because it's telling a story.
Yeah.
And it's just a complete movie, and I don't think there's anything to say that's bad about this movie. That's why I give it a 5 out of 5.
Larry?
I'd say 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5.
I mean, it reminds me of my childhood. Towards the end of the movie, it was predictable. You could kind of figure out what was happening.
Yeah.
But her being alive
Yeah.
afterwards, that made it even better.
You know
I
what?
mean, and she asked him if his demons were gone. You know, all the stuff that was
Yeah.
tearing at him, it was gone, and what he said it was, and it was just 5 out of 5. I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, it just
wanna-
reminded me of my childhood. It's just yeah.
You want to hear a fun fact? You wanna hear,
Oh yeah.
fun fact.
I don't know if this is true because I did look it up.
Did you look it up?
I did look it up, and people just say it looks like more like bruises and stuff like that.
I
But
don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
This it would make sense.
Not
though.
a fun fact, but a theory, more or
It's
less.
a fact, and it's kind of a sad fact.
It is so.
Or theory.
The
yeah.
reuniting of these two characters at the end is really wholesome and really wonderful, right? And you know they hug and he's crying and stuff like that. Well, there's a moment where while they're hugging, it's a quick shot, but it is a full on shot of her neck, and you see black veins. So it's implying that although they are reunited, she's most likely going to die because she is radiation poisoning.
Oh, okay.
Which
That's an Easter egg I did not
Yeah,
catch.
It's like I caught it and I didn't like think anything of it because they didn't really address it in the movie.
Yeah.
But I saw some other creators talking about it, and I was like, "Oh my god,
I hope it's not true.
that's like
I just love that it ended
that's
so
like
happy.
a whole nother level of heavy right there."
If it does end like that, I will say that at least it could be good at setting up. Obviously, I don't know if he's going to be returning as the main character, but by the end of the film, we know that Godzilla is going to be coming back. So you know you can't kill the king. But
no,
I think that it would be a good way to set up his return as the hero and another reason to do things. If she does die from it, but I also really hope she doesn't because I like happy endings. I like things to be nice, and so yeah, I would say that I hope that for her sake she's all right. But
Well,
Yeah.
at least it sets it up for a sequel if they decide to go with a sequel.
I'm
100%.
excited.
Oh, they're definitely going.
I'm gonna also give the movie a 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
It's easily just it's unbeatable. It's well rounded. It's got a perfect story,
Yeah.
perfect characters, great cinematography, and I think that the score is the best thing in this whole movie. Honestly,
100%.
just like the redone version of the original score is just insane. So
Yeah, even the silent moment
yeah,
Yes,
is part of that
I was
experience.
just thinking about it. Like when it cuts and you're like, is Godzilla about to either wipe the fuck, just kill everyone on the boat, or like what's gonna happen next? And then you hear the plane kicking in and you feel it coming.
Yeah.
You're like, even if you knew it was coming, you're like, yes.
Yeah,
It builds up to where you're like, thank you. This is what I wanted, and it's like that release of
It's good.
tension.
It
And
delivers.
It delivers.
It
Exactly.
delivers.
So like even at moments where you're like, oh yeah, he's gonna pull the thing, he's gonna live. You're still like, woo, thank God. Like I'm so happy that he lived. I'm so happy the plan fucking worked. I'm like, it just makes it such an epic film to feel like satisfied. You're like, oh, this is so satisfying.
Yeah, and the thing is that it builds suspense that whole time, and then you have that climax where it's just like everyone's satisfied.
Yes.
We defeated him.
Exactly.
At the moment.
At the moment, yeah. As far as they know.
All right, so I have some fun facts for all of us
Sweet.
about Godzilla.
I was just about to ask you if we had fun facts.
I
for this.
have some fun facts.
Little
All
fun
right.
facts.
So, first fun fact: Gareth Edwards, director of Godzilla 2014, attended a screening of this film. He described a feeling of jealousy while watching this film, and he stated, "This is what a Godzilla movie should be." So
He's right. He's right.
Gareth Edwards is good, man.
Dude, he did a great job.
We just had an episode. If you'd like to check it out, he did The Creator, and that was a fantastic film.
We
thought.
loved it.
Yeah.
We loved it. It's very controversial, but like we loved it.
Yeah.
So go check that one out.
And I mean, he made Godzilla 2014, which I feel like as a franchise movie, Godzilla, it hits very close to this movie. And they share a lot of similar beats about family and about, soldiers. And so for him to feel that way, I think that makes it just like all the better because he knows that, like even making as good of a movie as Godzilla 2014 was, that this is like, he gets it. He gets
What's
it.
funny is like a lot of people don't even like the 2014 one.
I don't get
and
that.
I just don't
They think it's too
understand it.
human, and I'm like, what? I'm like, and then they love this movie. I'm like, no, go revisit 2014. It's actually a really cool Godzilla film that sets up Godzilla in like a parallel way to this movie.
Next one we have is instead of creating a new roar, the crew simply played the original Godzilla roar over loudspeakers and recorded the audio.
That's super cool.
That's cool.
I liked it because it sounded super like bassed and blown out. Like it was just like, oh, and it hits you like a wave. And so, yeah, it adds
Yeah,
to
it's
that.
not like that from the older films. It's like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Exactly. It's super cool.
So this one is the -1 refers to the fact that Japan had already been devastated by World War II, brought down to 0. But with the emergence of Godzilla, it puts Japan into the negative. So this is reflected in the film's original Japanese tagline, which translates to post-war Japan from 0 to -.
Super cool. I was
Yeah,
always
that
wondering.
is really
I
cool.
figured that was the reason, but I was wondering why it was called that. But I was like, I don't even care.
Yeah,
I love the movie.
that depicts the title of the film perfectly, actually,
Exactly.
with that definition there.
Let's see. The name of the protagonist, Shikishima, coincides with the name of a squadron that conducted the first successful kamikaze attack. the Shikishima Squadron, led by Lieutenant Yukio Seki, hit and sank USS St. Louis in 1944.
That's crazy.
That's really cool to keep
That's
it
super
relevant.
crazy. It adds a whole that's why I love this kind of movies. It adds that whole extra layer of depth and
Because there's history behind
and
it.
detail. Yeah, like it pays homage to that fact, and so it's just like super cool to see.
The lead character's name, Koichi, was a nod to Koichi Kawakita, the special effects director of the late 80s through the 90s Godzilla films.
That's so cool. I love it. I love when movies think of like the little things that matters.
Okay, this one is debuting with 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Reviews from Americans were overwhelmingly positive, although some criticized and complained about the lack of Godzilla screen time. When the first negative review was posted, Yamazaki simply tweeted in response, "Finally."
That's awesome. I like it. I watched an interview recently, or it was not really a full interview, but it was a small one talking about the visual effects and him, and it was just super cool because it adds to that layer of like depth and care that he put in and like seeing these facts. Because he talked about how he was a visual effects director. I can't remember the movie he worked on before, but it's apparently another really good film. It's like a space Titanic movie, weird. But no, so he would even go in as the director and even work on some of the visual effects. And so like I don't know, it's so cool to me that you have someone who cares like and knows things even further beyond just directing to like actually put in the work on this kind of movie. So yeah, I really like that. Super cool seeing him like say that.
Very early production on the film began in late 2019, but the onset of COVID-19 pandemic meant principal photography did not begin until mid-March 2022, taking place in Kanto. So that's just that's a pretty interesting little tidbit of production.
I'm glad
news.
that it didn't get canceled though.
Yeah.
That's such a big risk, especially with the fact, like with COVID coming through. It's super cool to see that
because
it's
that
still
derailed so many films.
so many good movies.
This film grossed $11 million domestically in its opening weekend, more than any other Japanese live-action film. It's also the second most for any non-English live-action film after Hero in 2002, with 17 million.
That's
great.
such a phenomenal number.
And
Yeah.
it deserves it. It deserves 100 times more, but it just deserves every success it can get.
So Godzilla, as of now, has made $74.6 million.
Off a $15 million budget and less than that. So like
Its global gross is 74.
That's so crazy.
So awesome. So great to hear. Yeah, and like Larry was saying earlier, like it's not the budget, although it was $15 million, like that's, you got to think about like that's including like distribution, marketing. That's not including like, that's not just
all the
budget
other layers
for the
of
film.
filming, actors, all that. Not even just the CGI.
And
so
it
like
looked so good compared to like
a Marvel
any
movie.
Marvel movie these days. Like it
That costs $500 million.
$500 million to make these fucking
it
movies.
had that
like,
excitement that early Marvel films gave me.
Yes.
Like it had
more grounded.
It just feels like it knew, like those movies knew what they were doing and didn't need to force, it's not another movie to set up this movie. I mean, they did do that, but like not the way this movie does. You go watch a Marvel movie now and it's like, oh, I'm just here to see the end credit scene for the next film or something. I'm just waiting in the downtime till I see Deadpool 3 or something. But like this, it's like this movie just, you didn't need it. It didn't need to, you're here to watch a movie in its entirety and that's what you get. And it's just like, it beautifully wraps it up.
All right. Well, that's going to conclude today's episode. Thank you all so much for sticking around watching this movie. I forgot to throw it out earlier. If you want to support us, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below. It really helps us get bigger and better. And, go to our patreon.com/the Calvin Cam. Hit one of our 3 tiers. Help support us a lot. What?
I'm gonna do a little plug. I'm
quick plug.
I'm a
Quick
plug real
plug
quick because I
for
forgot
Nick.
to do it on my other episode. Go check that out as well. It'll be coming out after this. Go follow me. I'm an artist. I post most of work on Instagram. I'm hoping to post more on YouTube and TikTok. But go follow me on Instagram at wanna be artist, and there's 2 underscores underneath in between wanna be and artist. So sorry, it's a little confusing, but I'll have Anthony
have it
put
down
up
below.
put it up in the description.
Yeah,
So,
I'll have
Get
a
your
post
tag.
for you.
so go get that there.
Yeah, we would appreciate the support, and any feedback you could give us at all, just hit us up.
Yeah, we always looking for feedback. We need more of it, and thank you, Nick.
I'm
thank
glad
you,
to be
Larry,
here.
for coming on the
I
show.
didn't do much.
Oh, you did enough.
Yeah, you gave your
We
points.
were.
I'm
And,
glad. I'm so thankful to have you guys.
Yeah, and having you be here, not to cut you off, I'm
No,
sorry.
it's fine.
But having you to be here adds a whole nother layer of understanding, especially because you got to grow up with those movies.
Yeah.
So this is a culmination moment for you.
Well, the thing is, he puts a little bit of a perspective on
Yes, exactly. And so this, for me, I'm like, oh, great. I love this movie. But what will happen when I grow up to the point where I see another Godzilla
and
film
feeling that
and
nostalgia,
feeling that nostalgia for
Larry
this
is
movie?
probably feeling.
You have a whole other layer to bring to it. So I love having you on here, being you with me as my guest, as my guest on my podcast, on my podcast. No, but
It was
it's
fun.
cool. I'm
Thanks.
glad you did it.
All right. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.
Thank
Sweet.
you for watching.
See you
We'll
later.
catch you on the next episode. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you all so much for watching the Calvin Cam podcast. You can find us on any social media platforms like Instagram or Twitter. Go check our podcast out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Amazon Music. We also have YouTube channel, the Calvin Cam. Go over there, hit that like and subscribe button, and follow us there. As well as you can now really support us on Patreon.com. It's probably the best place to support us. So you can go there, join one of our 3 tiers, and help us get bigger and better, and we will appreciate you every step of the way. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a good night.